Well, every dream, great dream, actually has a day. Every rugged soul has a moment in the sun. Every dogged vision has a bright day. Aptly poetic, right? Well, these words were penned in a congratulatory message to U.S. President Joe Biden. The author, public affairs analyst, Professor Chris Nwokobia. He joins us now. Prof, straight up, what are the expectations? By the way, glad to have you join us. What are the expectations from the Biden presidency, especially as regards the African continent, which you're a part of?
Clearly, indeed, it's my pleasure to be here. I want to say that it was one wonderful moment yesterday. And with respect to your question, importantly, his appointments, his earliest nominations reflects the fact that he does appreciate the color black. He does appreciate the melanin. And he does appreciate the fact that the African Americans contributed hugely to his emergence. My mom and my siblings in the U.S. were part of those who voted for Joe Biden. And we appreciate the fact that he truly cares about the African continent. He has shown that. We have about 3 nominees, appointees from Nigeria alone. And like you noted in your news bulletin, this is the first time a black woman, and then a black woman is the Vice President of America. I hope and I believe that ultimately the American foreign policy, like he has said, will be about inclusivity, will be about global peace, will be about relationship rather than offensive foreign policy as it was over the past 4 years. I think that with Biden, and the speech did reflect the fact that we're going to have a new world, hopefully, that is about the primacy of the human brotherhood.
That's an interesting phrase, the primacy of the human brotherhood. But let's explore a bit further in terms of breaking down how realistic our expectations might ultimately be. We had someone who spoke on the fact that for Africa to reap from these expectations, we would have to align ourselves with the American vision. Do you share that perspective?
No, I think that clearly the American foreign policy is about America first. And if Africa must discuss, must benefit from this new regime in America, Africa must also adopt the African first mentality, because it's only when you come to the table strong and prepared that you can get something out of it. So my hope is not outlandish. I do not think that Biden will put Africa first. He will put America first. But interestingly, what he has repeatedly talked about is the fact that they will reach out to their friends. Nigeria, from the days of Obasanjo, has been a friend, an ally of the United States of America. So if they are going to reach out to their friends, and then don't forget that Biden was the Vice President of America when Obama and indeed Biden discussed with the present administration and talked about the need for regime change. I hope that whatever is happening in America today will impact positively first on my dear country, Nigeria, and then the generality of the black race and indeed Africa. I am not one of those, like I noted, who have infinite or outlandish hope. I do sincerely believe that Africa must articulate a proper homegrown policy that will present its philosophies and ideals strongly before the world. We must talk about proper trade treaties. We must talk about proper investments. We must talk about issues that will benefit the African continent, rather than this situation where Africa is more like a dumping ground of everything.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, you mentioned 3 Nigerian Americans being among the nominees in his cabinet, and I'm wondering, how can Nigeria tap into this to its own or for its own benefit?
Interestingly, the beautiful thing is that Nigerians in the United States of America almost always think home. Like I noted, my mom has been living in the U.S. for about 13 years. My siblings are all there. And I know that they think home. And interestingly also, when those appointees and nominees, that's the beautiful thing about this country, we took ownership. I saw the whole, the press. In your morning show, it was properly debated, analyzed, and all that. We know our own. And I do sincerely believe that if we articulate a fundamental and a strong foreign policy in line with how these developments favors us, it will work for us. I want to say that at this point, rather than just the congratulatory message, the DG of the Diaspora Commission, the Foreign Affairs Minister, and then the Nigerian political articulators must take advantage of this moment. It is time to walk into a relationship with America that is thinking about inclusivity, that is thinking about putting out the light on racism, that is thinking about a world where dialogue rather than offense, a world where dialogue rather than heated exchanges, a world where dialogue rather than threats should be the summum bonum.
Okay. I like your optimism and even the enthusiasm, but perhaps we should look to the side of the skeptics. You mentioned Biden being vice president when Obama was president, and some felt that some of their criticism concerning Obama was that he didn't do much for Nigeria and possibly for Africa as they would have expected. And then some, by contrast, felt that Trump was the medicine that Nigeria needed, in that he was tough-handed on those who would abuse that American ticket, especially when they were swindling at home, and they felt that it was right that he blocked those kind of offenders. What do you make of that?
First, let me say clearly that it would have been difficult for anybody in black skin, being the first president of America, first black president of America, to be truly Afrocentric, to be truly African-centered. It would have been very difficult because, of course, I've said here time and again that in dealing with issues, you navigate the waters carefully. Obama would have been accused badly or disparaged as caring more for his people if he had sent, if his foreign policy had favored strongly the Africa, you know. And now he has a vehicle, if you like. Now they have a vehicle, and clearly in the campaigns, you saw the tilt of the Democratic Party campaign. They were talking about the rights of black people. They were talking about Black Lives Matter. And look at it. For the first time since 1986, the Democratic Party took Congress seats in the state of Georgia, the state of the preacher from Atlanta, Martin Luther King Jr., who's my mentor. They did clearly show that it's a new dawn for America. My optimism, it's not, I noted here, it's not outlandish. You tell, like my late dad would say, you tell a good dancer from his first struttles, his first steps. I believe and I hope that if Africa comes to the table prepared with a proper and articulate agenda, a Biden presidency will favor Africa. Clearly, because in so many ways, he has said that he cares about a world of peace. In so many ways, he has said that he cares about human brotherhood. In so many ways, his team reflects the fact that though our tongues differ, though we're whites, black, or coloreds, we are members of one pilgrimage, and that's the human pilgrimage.
All right, we'll get back to Nigeria more, but let's discuss your sense of the well, it's still on Africa anyway, your sense of the executive orders that the President Biden has signed. One of them, of course, rescinding the ban on immigration for certain African countries.
Indeed, that's the point I was trying to say. His first steps have shown that he belongs, like Norman Vincent Peale, he belongs truly to the human pilgrimage. He belongs truly to the human brotherhood. He believes that you don't shut your door against your brother whose house is perhaps on fire. And I want to say that the beauty of America is immigration. The beauty of the United States of America is the fact that it's a melting point of ideas, colors, tendencies, and faith. So the man who just left was overly, if you like, I don't want to use the word racism because Mandela would say that it is a racist that knows how others behave. I think that the man who just left there did not understand the fact that we all belong to the same pilgrimage, that we're all, that like the teacher from Atlanta would say, we're all tied together, held together in a single network of mutuality. Whatever affects one directly affects the other indirectly. In the executive order that the President of the United States of America, Joe Biden, signed yesterday, he clearly stated, he clearly told the world that we all belong together. America will not turn you back if you have genuine reasons to be in America. And that's what the world should be. We should break down the walls that divide and build up the walls that unite.
Okay, Professor, I want to throw two thoughts at you, but they're seemingly, they seem to be connected. And that you spoke of Black Lives Matter and that being the message that the Biden administration is sending out. But how about some who have said that for us to really tout that message, we need to show that our lives matter to us at home. So before we now push it as an export and expect that same respect from others, we need to first respect ourselves. And that's on the one hand. On the other hand, there's the issue of wanting to have our cake and eat it. At the time when we had the storming of the Capitol Hill, a number of people said that that marked an era where America would stop playing global policeman. So they don't want America to stick their noses in African affairs, but they want America to help Africa when they're down on their luck. Does that sound slightly hypocritical to you?
No, I think it's called the bullseye in both perspectives. Let me say clearly here that I was one of those who said that you don't sit back here and watch human barbecues being thrown everywhere in the Northeast and indeed across our country and be pontificating about Black Lives Matter. But that's on the one hand. If you remember in my opening, I did say that Africa must, let me use the regular street word, package herself well. Africa must show that, that we believe in the primacy of lives, that we believe in the dignity of the human persona. Africa must show that we believe that together with civilized world and civilized ethics, we can march on to the table of dialogue with any country in the world. That's with any continent in the world. And that's fundamentally what we must do. Fix our home. Show that we respect human rights. Show that we respect the dignity of the human persona. Show that we're ready to terminate this era where human barbecues are thrown everywhere across our country. And then when you do that, of course, the world will come to your support. That is where I think that we must discharge the burden, show that we truly, truly care about our people. Then regarding the other leg of your question, what happened at the Capitol Hill on the 6th of January clearly was captured by the President, Joe Biden, in his speech when he said that democracy was under trial. Though fragile, democracy had prevailed. I don't think that there's anything perfect in our pilgrimage. We're all striving to perfection. If you remember what that little young girl, the poet, put through to the world, he said, theirs is not a finished product. It is not broken, but it is not unfinished. And I think that that's exactly why when people were lampooning what the man who just left the White House procured, that insurrection, I said, well, there is nothing that is perfect. We are all growing, and that's exactly why some of us believe that the Nigerian...
nothing is perfect, actually. We're going to get back to you in a bit. Stay with us. It's still NEWSDAY. We still have Professor Chris Nwokobia here in the studio discussing the presidency of Biden and, of course, how it relates to Nigeria and other issues as well. Let me get back to the question of Nigeria, Chris. How does this, I mean, the fact that he has 3 nominees of Nigeria descent in his cabinet, how does this speak to Nigeria being a powerhouse in Africa in terms of politically, its economy?
Clearly, Nigeria, our economy might be in trouble, but it's still the biggest economy in Africa. That's point number one. And then point number two, all over the world, we have shown, this country has shown, our citizens have shown capacity and competency. The Nigerian family, the Mafidon family, is the most erudite, most educated, most intelligent family in the United Kingdom. The Nigerian community in the United States is the most intelligent and the most educated community outside immigrant community in the United States of America. Go to the Silicon Valley, go to every part of America where people are excelling. You see Nigerians doing very well. Now, fundamentally, what it does, having three nominees in his cabinet, what it does first is that when issues about Nigeria is measured, we're all human beings. The tendency for me to be softer about an issue is when you have people of that tendency around you. And I do sincerely believe that, first, he has shown that he believes that the Nigerian people are awesome people. And then I don't know whether you've seen that call that he put through to a Nigerian family where a young boy donated, a 12 or 13-year-old boy, donated to his campaign, and then he had to call. I think that whether we like it or not, and that's why we must fix our home. Nigeria is some kind of a homo secundum when it comes to countries from Africa and then the third world. We lead the pack. We're not some people. We're not some species. And so what we need in this country is to get leadership right. Once we get it right, fundamental indeed, the world will be at our beck and call. I'll give you a practical instance. It was Madiba, one of my mentors also, Nelson Rolihlahla Mandela, who said that the world is waiting for Nigeria to rise. That when Nigeria rises, Africa would rise, and the world will respect the continent called Africa. So I do sincerely believe that this country at the trigger point of the world must get leadership right. And that is why in the build-up to 2023, we're doing our very best to ensure that we have a new generation of leaders, young, articulate minds, who can collaborate with the old to put our country right and deliver on the promises of democracy.
I hope we have time for, I want to throw at you a double-barrel question because I think you can handle it. And you said earlier on that we, just as America is putting America first, Africa should put Africa first. So I want you to tell me what that looks like, putting Africa first. And then the other aspect was, I can't remember who it was that said that now that the black vote has been elevated in importance, that the black people might become the next Jews of America. And so what is it that the Jews do in terms of the strategic behind the scenes controlling the powerhouse that the black people can do to match that? I know we've shown a sense of unity under people like Stacey Abrams and coordinating ourselves. What is it that we can do to organize ourselves as the black vote in America and then the Africa first? Thank you.
Indeed, in that question is the answer to that question. We must organize rather than agonize. We must unite in ideals and philosophy. We must throw down the things that divide us. We must put religion, ethnicity, and regionalism in the backwaters of our daily lives and deal with each other as wonderful people. Let me say clearly that Africa, when America has done one fundamental thing, they've always in their foreign policy and what they do, they've always put America first. The name of the movement I lead, that's why I smiled at that question. The name of my movement is the Country First Movement. And what we have always said is that a man will not come from outside to fix your home for you. You must show capacity and competency. You must show that you have patriots and statesmen in that country who will right the wrongs. When Africa wakes up to that reality, when Africa begins to look inwards, develop her citizenry, develop the people, create and develop skills like what India and China have done over the past 20 years. Once we begin to think about the life of the average Nigerian, the life of the average African, and in our foreign policy and in everything we do, embody the primacy of the lives of the Nigerian, and by extension the African persona, then America and indeed the world will take us seriously. I believe that largely we must deepen the frontiers of democracy, not in the words, but in action. We mustn't continue to mount. Africa should rise up to condemn what happened in Uganda, the colossal and massive rigging of the elections in Uganda. African leaders must rise up to say that the only way you can deepen the frontiers of democracy is to ensure that the first pillar, which is transparent electoral protocol, is etched on iron, is cast on iron, is cast in gold. That's exactly what we must begin to do. And then when we do that seriously, the world will take us seriously, because that's what is important. As we move on to a world that is largely opinionated, a world that is largely issue-based, Africa must wake up to the fundamentals and understanding that the primacy of lives, the rights of individuals, the dignity of the human persona, and growing economy and creating jobs are fundamentals in a very challenging world. We must put those issues on the front burner. And when we do so effectively, the world will take us seriously.
All right, Chris. Joe Biden, the president, he signed order-free orders, among all the others, that will address racial disparities and inequities. He also inked a decree for the federal bureaucracy to conduct reviews and isolate any racial inequities in how government resources are allocated. Do you see his presidency addressing the issues that have to do with, things like Black Lives Matter movement?
No, clearly he has said that, but before I come to that question, let me go back to the issues. The Jews, what the Jews have done in America is to show that they belong together and that they care about one another. The brotherhood of the Jewish people is absolutely amazing.
Yes.
Like I said again, when you talk about tendencies, the Jewish people are like an example to global brotherhood, to how we must care for one another. And that's what Africa must do. Then regarding the issues about, your question about the Black Lives Matter, let me say clearly that in the build-up to the election, there was no platform that Joe Biden occupied that he did not mention issues about racial justice, about spread of resources such that the blacks would have a true sense of belonging. Because you know that Martin Luther King Jr. said in the 60s that one of the greatest iniquities of racism is that it took capital away from the blacks. And he's saying that they will do everything possible to create some kind of equity in spread of resources. And I believe that fundamentally, don't forget that he has the first black president of America as his immediate, his former boss, and they are the best of friends. And don't forget that he has shown competency and capacity in how he manages issues of race and color. So I think that by God's grace, we shall have a new world where the human pilgrimage will rise beyond the dichotomies and the biases and prejudices, if you like, of race, religion, and color.
Yeah, speaking of a new world and rising beyond the dichotomies, it was quite striking that in his inauguration speech, he made mention of tackling white supremacy. And you could say that that has been the elephant in the room as far as American democracy is concerned, and that Donald Trump just gave it an avenue to express itself. And so where do you see this going? Because these are a set of people that seem to have built up a sense of entitlement over the years. Do you see Biden actually being able to tackle it from the roots?
It's not going to be easy, and he did not say by any means that it would be easy. Like we have at home here, ethnicity and religion is a massive cross. It's not going to be easy. Interestingly, in the state of Kogi, I have seen a young man who has been able to address it to some extent in the confluent state. He's been able to create some kind of harmony amongst the disparate ethnicities and in Kogi. I think that what Joe Biden will have to do is continue along the trajectory, along the path that he has built, and which is simply we can work together as one people. He said he's going to be the president of the United States of America, not of the green or the red, not of the blue or the red, not of the whites or the black or the colors. I think that that's a beginning. If you show capacity in understanding that our religious differences should not break us, should not collapse our ability to work together, then that journey shall have begun. And I believe, I'm confident, when he quoted the man who signed the Emancipation Proclamation, Abraham Lincoln, and he talked about, Lincoln said that his soul was tied to the Emancipation Proclamation. And Biden was telling the world yesterday that his soul is tied to the issues that brought him to the presidency, and which includes inclusiveness, which includes breaking down, like you noted, white supremacy, and which includes building a united America where the primacy of lives rather than our differences counts. And I believe that that's one thing we have to learn. When I was watching that program yesterday, I told my friends who were with me that I pray and I wish that our dear President Muhammad Buhari will take a cue from the statements of the new president of the United States of America, because they are about brothers of the same generation. He can learn that though tongue and tribe may differ, though our religious differences are fundamental, we can forge a pathway through them and build a country where truly Nigerians will say we are one.
Thank you so much, Professor Chris Nwokobia. There, Nigerians will say, we are one.